meeting of the East Granby Economic Development Commission for October 28th, 2024. Starting with a list of members that are here. David is not here. He's our chairman. He's asked me to chair the meeting, so I'll be chairing the meeting this evening. Tom is not here. Dan is here. Carrie is not here. Todd is joining us online. Peter's here in person. Glenn is not here. And Robin has joined us online also. All right, well, I'll mention the minutes of the meeting. Last meeting for the September meeting that we have minutes for, Carrie and Todd were not here, so Todd's unable to vote on the minutes of meeting. So there's only 3 of us. We're going to have to table that, I suppose, for the moment. All right. Public, no one's here from the public. Communication, the EDC minutes from September and the economic development agenda, the agenda and also the economic development report from September. Robin, you have anything you want to tell us about your EDC report for September?
Yeah, so we didn't update it for October because there was nothing new to carry over. The only thing I'll add, which is not an official application yet, but will be after our November meeting, is I am pushing an update to the Commerce Park Transitional Zone regulations. Much of was recommended as part of the Village Center Master Plan. I did not incorporate all of the recommendations. But I did incorporate probably 90% of them. So we did discuss that at the October PCC meeting. The commission just wanted a little bit more time to look over those changes that are being proposed, but we did workshop through some of those at the October meeting. So in November, we will finalize them in a final draft form and refer them out for a public hearing in December. Once those are finalized at the November meeting, I'll refer them over to you guys so that you can have a look at those because they are part of our Commerce Park zone, and they do obviously have, it does affect EDC, so it's something you guys should weigh in on. So our next meeting, I think, is the 12th, I want to say. So it would be at the 12th, November 12th. So it would be after November 12th in time for your November meeting.
Okay, thank you. I have 2 questions. One was at the last planning and zoning meeting, almost at the very end, there was a little discussion that I didn't quite absorb. And I think it had to do with the transition zone. And I believe it had to do, there was a discussion of moving, see if I get this right. There was some aspects of the transition zone that was maybe being rethought. And then rather than having, for example, the drive-throughs as the number, a specific number identified, so it would be a right of use or a right of development, it was moved back over to a, what do you call it, when the...
Special permit?
Special permit, yes, yes. Could you?
So actually, it should have been in the special permit category. It was approved via text amendment special permit when I went back and looked at it. So we moved it back into the category it should have belonged in. So
the number of drive-throughs is special permit, not by right now?
Right.
Okay. All right. Very
well, good. Not now. As it stands in our regs now, it's a special permit. So that's not going to change. Oh,
understood. I remember a lot of discussion about, so many per acre and all those things, and I thought that moved it into a by right requirement rather than a special permit. So maybe I misunderstood that.
Yeah, no, I went back to when we approved the text amendment that come in, and it was by special permit with all of those standards associated with it. So we correctly moved it back into that category in the draft.
Understood. Yep, thank you for that. I forget what the second one was. I reserve the right to come back and ask you the second one when I think about it. Thank you. Okay. Yep. So thank you for that.
Yep.
The next item here, the next section, is one that I spoke with David. I know David and Robin have been working on, so I'd like to spend a good bit of time on this, if we may, is under other business, the tax incentive policy. So, Robin, maybe I'll start. You can correct me or chime in. Robin and David have been looking at the existing incentive program we have, and I believe there was 2 areas specifically that they are looking to make some adjustments. So I'd like to talk about those tonight and get the board's opinion on those tonight. I know you don't have them in front of you, but under the section application procedure, section A, so that's 255-29A, it talks about the application fee. And right now, the application fee is $1,000. And again, this is for an application for the incentive program, to apply for the incentive program. And $1,000, I think, Robin, you and David agreed that that number was a little high. In fact, compared to other towns, it was maybe excessive.
Yes, yep.
During my discussion with David, he was thinking maybe somewhere between $50 and $100. Does that sound right to you, Robin?
Yeah, I would probably go with $100. That's about average. There is some work associated with reviewing the application, so I think
Sure.
$100 would be more on the appropriate side.
I mean, in my mind, as long as it covers our costs, we shouldn't be making money on this, you know?
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I'll open it up for the board. $1,000 was our original position. Even though I was part of writing this, I can't say why it was $1,000. I don't have a good recollection where that number came from. We want people to apply, you know. I think maybe we should pay them $100 to apply.
Yeah, the $1,000 definitely seems excessive, but
Yeah.
$100 seems a lot more reasonable.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, just covering costs as opposed to it's not a money-making venture. Yeah, you want as many as you can get, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that 100 sounds reasonable. Nice round number.
Yep. Todd, you with us in voice?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you get that? Did you hear that discussion? So we're talking about the application fee for the incentive. Yep. So
Yep.
here in the room, we're thinking 100 sounds pretty good.
yep, I heard that part. Sorry, are you getting feedback from the rest of the sounds at the Vineyard too right now, or no?
No.
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 Okay.
No.
Okay, cool. I was a little hesitant to be unmuted, but okay, this sounds good.
No. We're good. So what are you thinking? So it was 1,000, and we're right now the proposal on the table is 100.
100, yep. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously lowering it might, you know, that maybe initial 1,000 number might scare some people off. I mean, obviously the incentives might outweigh that in the long run, but I think we might get some more if it was lowered.
Yeah. Yep. I'm personally surprised that no one's tried to throw one over the wall just to see if it would stick, you know? I mean, that's from my point of view, we want lots of action on this, not little action. So, all right. Robin, I know this is it's part of the town. It's an ordinance, I believe, the incentive.
It is.
So in terms of, we're going to talk about another one in a minute, but in terms of the actions from the EDC, would it be a letter to yourself recommending a change? What's the protocol for making a change to this?
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen is, and I'll tell you the process on the Board of Selectmen side is, we should have a full final draft that the EDC endorses, and then I, as your staff, can put together a memorandum to the Board of Selectmen saying we would like to initiate a change to the approved and adopted, which needs to go through the same process as it originally did when it was adopted, which is a town meeting for approval. So there's a process in place, and it'll take a little bit of time, but I think it starts with you guys making sure you finalize all the language we want to incorporate before we send it off to the Board of Selectmen.
Understood. Yep, thank you for that. The second area is under section 255-31, and this really, in this section, so this is the specific requirements of the tax incentive agreement, and it talks about a new business development or expansion. It talks about commercial lease vacancy. It goes through a couple different categories. And if you remember, a month or two back, Robin actually gave us a copy or links to several different towns that had different incentive programs, and some of them, in fact, were more specific than us in terms of what types of properties applied or we're trying to be incentivized, I should say. So with that thought in mind, what I did is I reached back into our Village Center Master Concept Plan, not only the final plan, but the workshops. You may recall that there was a couple workshops that were run by Goldman and York. And in those workshops, they very specifically talked about, now this is the Village Center specifically, not the whole town, so it's a little more granular maybe than what the incentive is, because the incentive is for the town, not just the Village Center. But it does talk about different wants for the town from a survey. And Michelle, what I can do is just give you a copy of this afterward if you want. I went through and of the 11 different categories, again, Village Center, number 1 was restaurants, 2 was grocery, 3 was retail, 4 coffee shop, 5 pharmacy, 6 cannabis dispensary, 7 medical offices, 8 just offices in general, 9 car wash, 10 banks, financial, and 11 gas station. So I know that's a lot to keep in your brain, but against that backdrop and maybe the thoughts of the EDC, number 1, do we believe that getting a little bit more granular and detailed into what sort of incentive would be tied to what type of activity, do we want to do that? So just in general say, a new development is this. Do we want to be more specific so that the number 1 was a restaurant? Would we want restaurants, for example, that have the highest percentage of incentive versus the gas station 11 that would have the lowest? And I'm not necessarily saying that's our choice for those two, but just conceptually, is that something that we would like to have as part of the incentive offering? Robin, did I portray the conversation okay? Is there anything you want to add to them?
Yeah, no, so the conversation that David and I had is, and I don't know that we're looking to get that specific, maybe restaurants, but retail would be a broader use.
Yep.
Is to categorize the uses that we would like to see come to town, and then associate different percentages for the tax incentive program to those uses based on what we're looking for. And so a lot of towns do that because that way, you have, we'll say restaurants, since that was number 1 on the Village Center plan. If you have a developer and you know that they're looking to bring in a restaurant, you can say we have this tax incentive program and we give, a 50% tax abatement for the first 5 years for restaurants because we really strongly want them to be in our.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of a workshop for you guys to take a look at those and have that conversation. But I do think instead of just broadly saying, well, if you invest this amount of money, we'll give you this kind of abatement, it kind of shows developers, commercial real estate brokers, what specifically the town is really looking for, because obviously you're giving greater tax incentives to those uses that you really want to see in town.
Yep. Maybe we'll go in reverse order. Todd, do you have a opinion or a view on that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a number in my head because we don't want to get too crazy either.
Let's start at 35,000 feet first. Conceptually, is it a good thing to do? I mean, Robin mentioned a workshop. I think there's some whiteboard work to do to come to a conclusion as to what we want. But just as a concept, is it something worth our attention? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe on a broad base, and then if you want to, if we get a little bit more in specifics, I like your 35,000 feet analogy. Maybe, we go a little bit closer and then see where that goes. But I don't know, like you brought up gas stations. Like I don't need,
No.
do we even need any? Yeah. So obviously, I'm thinking that there's a lot of things going on. But like right off the rip, we could probably narrow that way
Right,
down too,
yeah.
and that's kind of what Robin alluded to,
Yeah, I was just really reading verbatim from the Village Center plan. I wasn't necessarily advocating for this. It was just a listing that we had come up with previously. Yeah, I think a gas station
We
would,
have to.
I think if we advocated a gas station, I think there would be a mutiny at this point.
I think we should disband the EDC at that.
Yep.
I like how you came off the Village Center plan. That's kind of our guide and light, because that brought a lot of the most public feedback that we've gotten on anything from
Yep.
any study that we've done. So
Yep. There's actually 3 pages that are pertinent, and Michelle will give you the information so you can put it in the minutes. There was 2 workshops that have actual voting numbers, so we can reference those 2. And then the third is really the summary of the first 2. So that's, like you say, it's a flag we can put in the ground and say, hey, this is when the town spoke at 20%, whatever it was, participation was pretty high. This is what they were saying. And, to Robin's point, I don't think we have to list all the different types of retail, just saying retail, versus restaurant versus, I don't know, residential, whatever. It'd be probably good enough.
Yeah, I'm obviously,
Okay.
oh, go ahead, Ty.
sorry. Was there anything on manufacturing in there, Paul?
No, because again, this was Village Center. So, if we had cast a wider, but I think that's a fine thought. It's for us, using this as one of our road markers, to think about where we want to incentivize, but certainly in a bigger sense, what do we want to do in the transition zone perhaps? What do we want to do in Commerce Park A, B, kind of in a workshop whiteboard session, blow it out that way maybe.
Right, yeah, because I was just saying, I know we had the Village Center study, and the transition zone comes near that. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was kind of, maybe it mentioned manufacturing too, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, but I would certainly advocate it. I mean, manufacturing's awesome, keeping in mind, one of our 3 tenants is good jobs, for East Granby. It's while wonderful restaurants are wonderful, a manufacturing facility is certainly going to bring in a higher number of higher paying jobs. So that should be part of our criteria in identifying, what kind of incentives we're trying to spread around.
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't know. Again, I'm relatively ignorant in terms of the functionings of all these things. However, I do think that one of our I'm always nervous that it's the buildings and the businesses that are going to come here are going to be whoever has the most money, because that's what we're looking for. And then I'm always worried that that's just going to be like just warehouses everywhere. That's always my fear. So if we can do something that can help guide that, right? Obviously not pinpoint. We can't say, oh, we want this specific restaurant there. But if we can have something that, again, we incentivize to have certain types of businesses and gives us a little more control, it feels less sort of random, or less sort of like, yeah, the highest bidder just gets to put whatever they want here because we want the tax dollars, right?
To your point, Dan, there was a section, I didn't print out that page, but there was a section of, as well as yeses, there was a section of no's. So we might use that as, again, one of the other goalposts, say,
Yeah.
Here's the no's, here's the hard yeses, where do we want to live in between that? So, yeah, good point.
I'm thinking that instead of doing the incentive based on the type of business, that we do it on the village center, because you can't have certain things that we don't want. Like you can't have a gas station, well, I guess you can have a gas station in the village center, but you can't have a large manufacturing in the village center because our zoning laws wouldn't allow that anymore. So maybe we could just focus it on incentive for village center. And that by the definition would probably be retail or grocery.
So where I thought you were going to go, and it's an interesting thought, it's, kind of using the other axis. So let's say Village Center, and these are just numbers, gets a 50% incentive. The transition zone gets a 45%. Commerce Park B gets a 30, so rather than by type of business or manufacturer, maybe we do it by a zone.
Yeah.
That's another approach.
Yeah, because the zones should keep out what we don't want
Yep.
in a zone.
Yep. Having said that, though, manufacturing is really gets my attention. I mean, we get a new manufacturer in here that brings in 300 jobs,
Yeah.
and there's jobs and there's tax money and there,
And then I'll bring in restaurants.
it's really,
And
yeah.
maybe
So
that's a little more long-term as well, too, as opposed to a restaurant that could come and go.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that manufacturing couldn't, but,
Yeah. right. Yep.
Yeah, so that's, but again, something that helps us too, like you said, like not only the type of business we want, but then, if we can dovetail that with where we want it. So I think both those things
Yep.
work together
Yep.
to sort of put, to get things sort of, where we want them.
Right.
I like it.
Yep.
I think moving forward too, and I don't, maybe we're coming too close from this view here too, but I don't want to get real crazy with these incentives either. I think naturally, hopefully, the way things are going, we got a little momentum in the Village Center right now. Hopefully some more in manufacturing, but it'll naturally kind of fall into place too, where East Granby is going to be pretty desirable. We won't really need as much of a incentive for businesses to come here. It's kind of going to happen organically with the work we've been doing in the
Right.
Village Center and the commerce zones.
Yeah. Well, the recommendation from the Village Center plan was to plant the seed with residential, and the sprouts about that tall. I mean, it's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's sprouted. So that's the.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also think we have to look at the surrounding towns, because if they're offering incentive, maybe somebody might be like, well, maybe I'll go to Windsor or Simsbury as opposed to East Granby because I don't have to pay taxes for the first 5 years. Or
I recommend everyone look at that email that Robin sent to us with all of the surrounding town incentives. And to your point, maybe you just look at Suffield, Granby, Windsor, Simsbury or something, just to see what they are. But there was some, I read through all of them, and I thought there were some that were so-so, and I think I identified 4 in the last meeting or 2 meetings ago that I thought had done a pretty nice job of, and so. So if we're going to do a separate workshop, I believe if we do if more than 2 of us get together, we've got to make it a public meeting. So I wonder if we should repurpose our next EDC meeting. So I'm thinking the logistics of that. So everybody's schedule is different, and this meeting's on everybody's calendar and so forth. I wonder if we should repurpose our next EDC meeting for a workshop. And it's really, we convene the meeting and then dive into a workshop for, 55 minutes, and then come out of the meeting, and that will be our input.
Yeah, I like the idea of using the next meeting for that.
I just imagine it would be difficult to do it, and I think, we'd have to publish on, the website that it's a special meeting and invite the public, and I don't know, Facebook, I'm not sure what the how much you got to do, but it's easier if we just repurpose the next meeting.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
I like that.
Okay. I don't think we need to necessarily vote on that. I'll talk with David about it. He drives the agenda. I think the agenda can be anything we want it to be, and as long as the workshop is correctly described in the agenda, I think that's good enough for public notice.
Yep.
Okay, so that will be our, the third thing in here. Oh, the third had to do with the infrastructure improvements. So that was the third area that we had talked about, and Robin has applied for a grant, I believe, in that regard, or at least has some, is moving that direction. Again, in terms of the incentives, so we have the type of business, maybe the location of the business, and then the infrastructure that business brings to our town. So there might be 3, maybe there's even more, but maybe there's 3 different things we want to consider with the incentive. So it's it's a complicated little thing. I'm imagining the engineer in me sees a spreadsheet.
And do these town incentives, again, I haven't had a chance to look at the sheet that Rob sent, or the ones that were listed. These tax incentives, do they shift them every couple of years, or is it like an ever-changing document, or like once you say, okay, this is the percentage we give out, that's...
Yeah, it didn't look, they changed to me, I mean, date-wise, that they looked, I'm sure there's some sort of turnover. But of course, the incentives expire. Some expire in 3 years, some
Okay.
expire in 5 years. I mean, there's a couple different, which is the other thing. We've not only got the type of business and the percentage, but we've also got the expiration dates. We
Okay,
got
that's what
quite
I
a
was
few
wondering.
knobs to
Okay.
turn here to think about how we want to incentivize someone.
Okay.
Robin, do you have a experience with the rewriting cycle of these things?
Yeah, so you don't rewrite them, they're ordinances, which is why it's important to try to word it in a way that has some longevity behind it, because it is a process to change the ordinances. So those, if you're looking through the files that I sent, you'll see most of them are, they may have been revised. Like I know when I was in Simsbury, we did do an update to it just to be more in line with categorizing the businesses we were looking to bring into Simsbury at the time. So there are updates to them, but if you also look, there are some that are pretty old as well. And my guess is the towns probably don't utilize them as much, so they haven't bothered to do updates to them. It's not what I would call like the zoning reg, which is an easily changeable document. Like, you just hold a little public hearing 30 days after and you change it. It's got to go through that whole process of going to the Board of Selectmen and then going to a town meeting, and hopefully they vote yes for the changes you're proposing. So it's not an easily changed document.
Yeah. So I think we've agreed on a couple things. I think we've agreed that we are going to take this on, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. We've agreed that section 255-29A, we think $100 rather than $1,000 is a good number. I think that's kind of an easy one for us. In terms or in reference to the agreement 25531, we are going to have our next EDC meeting is going to be a workshop style meeting where we're going to try to come up with some guidelines for incentives. We're going to look at the type of business. We're going to look at the zone that the business resides in, and we're going to look at the town infrastructure. Perhaps more, but I think we've identified those three as knobs, dials that we might want to think about in terms of making adjustments to the percentage and the terms, so forth, of the incentives. Any other discussion on this subject? Okay. All right. Business retention and visitation. I've reached out. Let me see that. I guess that really comes on marketing. I don't know if I have anything to say about business retention and visitation. I don't think I have anything to say about them. Marketing, Let's Talk Turkey articles. I've reached out to, so we said, oh, I know. Okay, thank you. So Dave and I were talking offline about Let's Talk Turkey articles. And our previous concept of a Let's Talk Turkey article, and it may even be the name of the Let's Talk Turkey section, was like new businesses, or there was a word new somehow in the header. And we did that when new businesses would come in. We'd visit the new business and put a little descriptor out, an introduction to the community within Let's Talk Turkey. David at the last meeting brought up two businesses. I guess I can. Anyhow, he brought up two businesses that had been in town for a decent length of time, and I had taken an assignment to visit with them. And I'll have to say, upon reflection, I didn't, because I struggled with the concept of going back to a business that I felt like it was against the charter of that activity. With that activity being introduction to the community of a new business, us proactively going to an existing business and writing an article for them, it troubled me that there's a fairness aspect to it that troubled me. Robin, maybe 6 months ago, I don't remember the timing of it, within the town website now, an existing business can self-advocate. They can go online and they can make themselves write an article about themselves or promote themselves. So that certainly covers existing businesses. So I guess the next thing I'd like to talk about as a board here is how do we feel about these Let's Talk Turkey articles? David was contemplating the idea of maybe we do, a medical business, a plumber or electrician. I don't know. Just pick some categories, and in the coming articles, going around alphabetically. I'm not sure how we do it exactly, but going to existing businesses in a fair sort of way to identify who we want to write articles about. So my shoelaces were definitely tied up on the subject. I had really struggled with how do you do it in a way that doesn't seem like you're providing preferential treatment to some, and that we don't want to get anywhere near that. So I don't know, it may be open debate or discussion on the concept of a Let's Talk Turkey article. What is it? What do we do here?
I mean, is the problem that we just don't have that many new businesses to be able to keep,
Yep.
it would be vacant the spot if we didn't.
Robin can probably say better than I. I'm going to guess we probably have 8 new businesses a year. I don't know, I kind of pluck that number. I don't know.
That's probably about an approximate, maybe a little less.
Yep. So not that we need to. I mean, it's not that we're motivated to fill the space necessarily, because really our only motivation here is to get them up and running and profitable and paying taxes. So we don't need to fill that paper. I'm sure, the Let's Talk Turkey folks would like us to put less in, not more. So I think our motivation as an EDC is to help the business.
Yeah.
And certainly a new business that doesn't know how to navigate the town, EDC reaching out, I'm sure they're thrilled.
That's why I was wondering if maybe, obviously, what defines an established business? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I was wondering if you did a follow-up within the year or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Of that, just like a check-in.
Yep.
After how many months? I mean, I don't know what the rate is of businesses, like in terms of, probably depends on the type of business, but whether they close within 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever it is. But, if that wouldn't show preferential treatment, and if it would, especially if they're struggling to get off the ground, give
them a booster shot.
If you came back after a year, if that wouldn't, something like that.
We could go back to Turkey news and figure out which ones we did.
Yep.
And then say, revisit. I like a rules-based process. The minute it becomes arbitrary, I feel like it's the wrong thing to do.
I mean, and then what was the other option? Is that we put all the businesses on the table and go alphabetically? I mean, does J&G's really need a talk? You know what I'm saying? Need an article on Talk Turkey? I mean, everyone sort of knows, right? But I could see how they would say, hey, it's unfair that we're a business in town and we're not getting,
Yeah, and there's, when you look at the number of businesses we have in town, I'm always astonished at how many there are. But a lot of them are 2 people, working out of their home maybe, or there's something, and you can't forget them. They're probably the ones that are the most needy in terms of giving them a boost. Yeah. They're probably the ones that could use it the most.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I really, I felt weird not doing the, going out to do the visits, but it just felt wrong to me to do it,
This is a bias then,
I don't, nobody wants that. I like the follow-up. I like that, Dan. That's and we can stretch back as far as we want. We can start back 5 years ago and work up until now. And I mean, that's not a crazy number.
No.
The other thing is we can't take on 500 of these. we'll consume all of Let's Talk Turkey, you know what I mean? So realistically, probably two, a publication is a reasonable number, I think, two write-ups. All right, so let's see what we can, and well, Todd, what's your, let me, need to do a poll here.
Well, I was kind of struggling with to Dan's point with like J&Gs and stuff, some of the more established businesses in town. And then I said, well, thinking to myself, what other businesses have been around for a while? And I don't think someone like Rock Bestis or like Galasso would be that pissed that, we weren't putting them in the business spotlight either. So my mind was going to something like, and I know we don't want to come off as preferential, but like a retail or restaurant or service-based thing.
Yep.
A lot of these businesses with the shout out probably don't need it either.
Yeah.
Or would be appropriate.
I think if a resident in town isn't going to go there and do business, I think we move them to a different tier.
Right. Not to play favorites, but I just think it'd be
no,
more
that's right.
pertinent to the article.
Yep. No, I agree. Yep. Yeah, I'm okay with the time-based thing. Alphabetical.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
I toyed with the idea of revenue, helping the little guy, but it would be hard to know that. I mean, that in itself would be quite a endeavor to try to, I guess we could go look at our tax, tax roll or something, but we want to help. We want to be helpful here. That's the whole idea.
I think we're probably getting too meta on this too. We probably maybe just prioritize new business, like the new business spotlight, and then you just kind of have that secondary list to work off of too, in case we don't. Because there's only so many Let's Talk Turkeys a year too. It's not like it's every month. So if we take that kind of 6 to 8 number, we're pretty much good for the year, hopefully, and then maybe it's just that 1 month where we got to fill in the gaps with something, and then maybe that's when we could wrap around with Dan's idea, like, hey, look at these businesses in the last year and still doing well, or update on that. Yep. Just for the one issue.
Right. Yep. And two, I mean, we can, they should have some motivation themselves. So let's say, again, just fake numbers here, made up numbers. Let's say there's 30 businesses that have come in town in the last 5 years. You fire an email out to 30 businesses and say, hey, do any of you want to be re-interviewed for Let's Talk Turkey? My guess is 10 of the 30 are going to respond to you. The other 20 are going to, not pay attention to you. So then, okay, so now not only are we trying to help them, but they are looking for help and they are appreciating our efforts. So they moved up on the list in my mind,
Yeah, then we can cross that list with the list we already sort of made of which ones we want to highlight or which ones we haven't done yet, and we can sort of see like, okay, that would work.
All right, so let's do that. I don't know how we figured out the timing of what businesses come into town. Maybe the assessor can help us with that. I'm not sure how you get that information. I certainly don't have back copies of Let's Talk Turkey.
Are they all electronic?
They are electronic.
Yeah,
I bet
probably.
you can read from all of them.
Yeah. So maybe we'll reach out to the assessor. That would be the easy one. I don't know if she's got a listing of businesses, or I'm not sure, ones that are new or.
Yeah, we do have a list of businesses.
Okay. All right. So let's start with just figuring out who they are. Start with that. I don't think this is something that requires a vote or anything, right? I mean, we don't have an official document that says what we're doing with Let's Talk Turkey. I think if we all agree that it's the right thing to do, then we'll just do it. I don't think we need any more formal thing than that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if we have more discussion on it once we have a list.
Sure. Yep.
That's about
Yep.
it.
Yep. The last item is new business.
Yeah, I have something. Again, it's just a Facebook posting, so I don't know what's going on. I'm not really sure if it's a concern of the EDC or not, but apparently there's a Board of Selectmen meeting tomorrow morning about 3 pieces of land that are going to be sold off.
Yeah.
There's the Old Town Dump, a small 1 acre piece of land, and then I forgot what the third one was.
And back of the thrift shop.
Yeah, back at the thrift
Yep.
shop, so.
Yep, so those are pieces of property that the town owns that are stranded, sort of. You know, they don't have value to the town, or I'll say purported value to the town, I don't want to presume. And in some cases, they're landlocked. So for example, the one in back of the thrift shop, that's people own land on all the sides, and on the front is the old schoolhouse, which is the thrift shop, so it sort of doesn't have value for the town.
Right.
The one that is on Holcomb, I believe the story there is some number of years ago, Holcomb was straightened out, even though it's pretty crooked now, so it used to be worse. And there was a piece of property that was stranded there. And then, of course, the landfill is the landfill. I mean, that's it used to be owned by the town. I'm certain it's a hazardous waste facility. It's encapsulated with a rubber coating of some sort. And that one does cost the town. So the other two don't cost us much. I think certainly I would say the one in back of the thrift shop doesn't cost us any money. Nobody does anything there. The other one, the town cuts the grass a couple times a year, so there's a little cost with no benefit, not so much. The landfill is a little bit more. The landfill, I'm not going to guess that I know all the rules, but I know they mow it a couple times a year, and apparently it takes a couple days to mow. The idea being, I believe, not an environmental engineer, that you don't want a big tree growing so the roots would, break through maybe the barrier that's there and have an opportunity for water to ingress, those sorts of things. So there is some fairly significant efforts to keep that acceptable. And then the other is testing. The town does testing at least once a year. I don't know how many times a year. So there's probably tens of thousands of dollars of town money. So that's the yin. The yang side of that is, okay, so we're good stewards of the property. You know, if it were sold, would the new person that bought it be an equally good steward of the property? And I think the only way that you could guarantee that would be on a contractual basis. All of these properties that would be sold, there would be some sort of a contractual aspect to it. They might pay for the surveying of it. They may pay the closing fees. I mean, we want to come. The town doesn't want to pay to get rid of these. We want to end up in a positive sense. Right. So there would be, and again, I'm not a lawyer. So what the contractual basis would be, in particular, for the landfill, I don't know, but I would guess would have to be pretty tight.
Yeah. Is a couple questions? Is the old landfill, is that near the dump now?
Yep.
Okay.
So when you're at the transfer station,
Yep.
and you've got kind of the building there and that, if you look straight ahead where they put the grasses,
Yeah.
there's actually a little road there.
I've seen that. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's behind that?
Just
there?
the other side of that.
Right. And then, so this is being sold to anyone? Like, is it sold, because why would anyone want, it seems like strange property.
I thought
That's
the vineyard wanted the one.
So there was a public notice put out, I don't know, 3 months ago, I don't quote me on the time, some number of months ago, there was a public notice that was put out that said, hey, the town of East Granby is interested in selling these properties. If you're interested in buying them, submit a sealed bid by this date.
Okay. And one person or group entity is buying all three, or they don't know, or?
There has been, to my knowledge, there's been at least one offer on each of the three.
Oh, okay.
And they've been separate, according to the Facebook, they've been separate people.
Oh,
So not the same
Okay.
person for all three.
Yeah.
interesting.
So, as I say, that it's not a freebie. The two of them in particular seem pretty fine. Particularly if somebody wants to buy the property and build something on it. My motivation's always taxes. More tax
of
money.
course,
So that's all good. That the town's positive for it. I think. So Paul's view of it is, in no way should the town increase its liability or cost. And if you can check a box to say that neither of those is true, and we pick up, a couple $1,000s, tens of thousands of dollars, okay? That's not a bad thing, but it's probably more complicated than all that. That's what I know and, kind of my view of it. Robin, do you have anything to add to that at all, or what's your?
No, that's pretty accurate. I don't know about the meeting tomorrow, but they did go out to the public for closed bids. They did have bids come back in. I know they're going to be on my PZC agenda in November for the 8-24 referral. It was my understanding that no permanent decisions are being made until after the 8-24 referral, which won't take place until November 12th.
So you're speaking in tongues, an 8-3 referral.
8-24 referral. Any sale or lease of town property requires a referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make sure that it is consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development.
Thank you. Thank you. So tomorrow's meeting's probably to kick off that process or something? I don't know. It's hard to see what tomorrow's meeting would be then. Yeah.
I'm looking at the agenda. It says capital request, ARPA request, town land sales, public comments. So
Oh, maybe that's it.
it might be intertwined, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they won't be, without the 8-24 referral, they can't do their final action on it. So
Got it.
Yeah, I was just curious. It was something that's on Facebook, so.
Sure. Yep.
Wasn't sure how real the appreciate
Yep.
it.
Yep. Yeah. I've never been aware of the town selling property before. I mean, I don't know if we have property to sell.
it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
One of my other towns, we have about 40 town properties that the town actually went to their boards of commission and was looking to possibly sell. So they're doing the same process. When the town owns properties, if it's not protected open space or given as part of open space for a subdivision, it's land that sits that you're not making taxes on.
Yeah.
Even if it's privately owned and remains vacant, you're still getting taxes for it if it's privately owned versus if the town owns it and it's vacant, you're getting nothing for it. So towns do look at their property rules to see if there's any benefit to keeping those properties that aren't otherwise protected in their coffers, so to speak, or if there's an advantage to selling them to either someone could develop it, or a lot of times owners who are adjacent want it so that they have more land. Maybe they want to put up a garage or a barn and they can't because of limitations on their property. So there are reasons that people look at purchasing town-owned adjacent properties that may not be developable by themselves.
Yeah.
And then to your point, there's a cost to maintain.
Yeah. If you can. Yeah.
The no taxes plus it cost us.
Yeah.
What's the point? Yeah.
What's the point? Yeah. Anything else, Pete?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Daniel?
Nope. all set.
Todd? Any closing words?
Nope. I'm all set.
Okay. Robin?
Nope.
Anything you want to say? All right then. I'd like a motion to.
Yeah, I make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn our meeting.
Okay.
Second?
Second, thank you. Any further discussions?
Nope.
Vote all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Very good. 6:20. Thank you for
Good night,
calling in.
everyone.
Thank you for calling in, Robin. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Yep.
Good night.
See y'all.
Paul say it.
Oh, meeting's adjourned.